Hello Classic Crew, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing 5 things every woman should know when she's trying to conceive. If you are new to my channel, here we talk about classic living and traditional values, and I would love if you would consider joining our Classic Crew by hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. If you'd like to get access to my book club, my podcast, our discussion threads, and just our community in general, make sure to head over to my Substack newsletter at classicallyabby.substack.com. In today's video, I want to talk about trying to get pregnant. I think that talking about getting pregnant can be a little bit uncomfortable for some people, but I am somebody who thinks we should be super open about it. We should talk about the process if we can, and hopefully we can help each other. And I want to give you guys some things I learned when I was trying to conceive that hopefully can help you a little bit and maybe give you some more information. I hope that this video is helpful to you because I think that trying to conceive can be a weird and sort of lonely experience. So I want to talk to you guys about it, and hopefully we can open up a conversation. So make sure to leave in the comments any other tips and tricks that you might have for conceiving, and let's get into today's video. Number 1 is figure out what your approach to getting pregnant is like. I think that this is kind of a funny one, but I had this assumption that I was going to be very casual about it, that I would just be like, oh, we'll try, we'll see how we do, we'll just take it easy. That was not my personality at all. It turns out that I was super scientific about it, and I really wanted to know the best way, the best times for us to get pregnant, the best methods, like everything that I could learn about trying to conceive, I learned. I read everything, I watched all the videos, I did everything I could to give us the best opportunity to get pregnant quickly. Now, you may be somebody who is more casual and just wants to take it easy, but I think it's important that you kind of recognize and go with the flow with who you are. If you're someone who wants to be more casual about it, that's great. It's good to know certain things just so you can be more effective, but it's not bad to have more fun with it and be more casual with it. If you are somebody who wants to be more scientific and rigid, that's also great. Get all the information that you can and then kind of try to relax a bit because it can drive your spouse crazy. But I think it's really important to just kind of know yourself and know your personality. And I would say it's good to kind of balance it out a little bit. So if you're somebody who is more like me and who is more like type A when it comes to trying to conceive, also try to bring in the casual nature of it and like the fun nature of it, that you guys are doing this fun thing together. And if you are somebody who is more casual about it and doesn't want to take it so seriously and wants to be able to just kind of wing it, maybe read up a little bit just so that you can have the best chance of conceiving. Number 2 is when to take an ovulation test. So I have done loads of research on this, and I'm not a doctor, okay? So of course, everything I say in this video, this is just my own research, my own understanding. Ask your doctor if you have any questions. But from my understanding, the best time to take an ovulation test is not first thing in the morning. You actually want to take your ovulation test about 4 hours after you wake up in the morning. And this is different than a pregnancy test, okay? So a pregnancy test you take first thing in the morning as soon as you wake up, because that is when your urine is the most pure. Like it hasn't been watered down by how much you drank that day. And so you can get the most clear result. With an ovulation test, you're looking for a surge in your luteinizing hormone. And that doesn't happen until about 4 hours after you wake up. Now, you don't see this information on the box. On the box, they'll tell you to take it when you wake up. And you might be ovulating that day and then not know it because you took your test too soon. So I used to take 2 tests a day. I would take one about 4 hours after I woke up, and then I would take one a little bit later in the day. And sometimes I would get a positive ovulation test later in the day than I did in the morning. And that, obviously you want to try when you're ovulating. So it's important to actually know when the best time is to take an ovulation test. Now, if you didn't already know, just as far as the best times to conceive. The best time to conceive is right in the middle of your cycle. Technically, you are supposed to, most women generally will ovulate like if you have a 28-day cycle, day 14 would be like the day that you ovulate. So 5 days before is when you can start trying. So then you can start taking those ovulation tests 5 days before that midpoint of your cycle. And you can start seeing, because sometimes you'll be a little early, sometimes you'll be a little late. Not everyone is like clockwork, and so sometimes you just kind of have to test to see. So finding out what day you're ovulating can be really helpful to conceiving. Now, I will put a link in the description box below to the ovulation strips that we used. It also comes with some cheap pregnancy tests, and you can get them on Amazon. It's by a company called Mom Med, and they are very, very cheap. So if you want to take 3 ovulation tests in a day, it's not going to be a terrible thing because you have so many extras. And I found that to be very helpful and very useful, and I didn't feel like I was stressing out about using too many ovulation strips. So that is something I recommend having, and they're really easy to use. Okay, number 3 are the best pregnancy tests. So there are a bunch of pregnancy tests on the market. You can really get from any store. You can get from like the Dollar Tree, although the Dollar Tree ones never worked for me, and people have said to me that the Dollar Tree ones work. I did not find that to be the case, but you can get them at Walgreens or CVS. And like I said, in that Mom Med box, you'll be able to get like cheap pregnancy tests. Now, the cheaper the pregnancy test, the less HCG it will detect in your urine. So HCG is the pregnancy hormone, and it's basically, it tells you if you're pregnant. So a cheaper pregnancy test can generally only detect a certain amount of HCG in your urine, and that means you have to wait longer. So you can wait 2 weeks, like past your missed period, and then you can take the pregnancy test. Now, if you're like me and you're a crazy person, you want to take a pregnancy test as early as possible. The 2-week wait is really long. The 2-week wait is from when you try to that missed period, and it can feel like forever. And so I used to want to take pregnancy tests a little bit earlier in my cycle. So if you're like me and you want to be able to test early, the only tests I really liked were first response. First response gets a really accurate reading for a really low HCG level in your urine, and they also are not going to fade over time. So this happened to me, and it made me crazy. I got some other tests that said that they could do early detection, and they were cheap, and they had a blue line on them. I think they were store brand. And I took the test, and it came back positive, and the next day it had faded, and I didn't see the line anymore. And it was like, it just stressed me out. Whereas a first response test, it does not fade. So you can be able to be like, oh no, I was pregnant yesterday and I'm pregnant today. So I highly recommend first response. They are a little more expensive, but you can get them on Amazon for cheaper. And those are the tests that I liked taking. Number 4 is the 2-week wait itself. So I read a book by Emily Oster called Expecting Better, and I found that book to be great. I highly recommend that during pregnancy. I also recommend it during the time you're trying to conceive. It's just a great book, and it basically tells you the data for a bunch of different things that we're told during pregnancy, and it allows you to make an informed decision about what you want to do. So for example, a very famous example is that Emily Oster says, if you have sushi is generally said to be off limits for pregnant women. But the risk for sushi, if it's not, gas station sushi, is that you're gonna get salmonella. Now, salmonella is not good to have. It's not comfortable to have. It makes you feel sick and awful. But it also is not directly harmful to a baby. So if you were to get salmonella, it would make you feel sick and it wouldn't be good for you, but it's not going to directly harm your baby. Things like listeria or toxoplasmosis are directly harmful to a baby. So those are the things you want to avoid. So things like that, those are things that are in her book, and they're great. And she doesn't say that means you should eat sushi. It just means you can make an informed decision. Do you want to get salmonella while you're pregnant? Then maybe don't eat sushi. If you don't mind the risk, the teeny tiny risk, then you can have sushi. In any case, one of the things in her book that I thought was very helpful was her discussion of the 2-week wait. Now, the 2-week wait, again, is that period between when you try to conceive and when you have a missed period. And it can feel endless. It's half the month. And so basically, most women decide they are not going to drink at all during those 2 weeks. But that can make you sort of crazy, because if you're not conceiving month after month, then those 2 weeks can really, you're trying to act as if you're pregnant before you are. And then if you're not pregnant, you feel like, well, I guess I should have just lived my life the last 2 weeks. So what Emily Oster says, as far as drinking during the 2-week wait, is that you're not going to hurt a developing fetus during those 2 weeks if you have one drink, or have half a drink or anything like that. That's not going to hurt the baby. And I'll let her talk about the science in the book so you can read it, because I can try and describe it to you, but I'm not going to get it perfectly correct. So I would recommend actually just reading the book. But that gave me peace of mind when we were trying to conceive, because it just meant that I didn't have to totally alter my life during those 2 weeks that we were waiting and then be disappointed. So if you have a glass of wine during your 2-week wait, you will not hurt your baby. Last but not least is how hard it can be to conceive. I think there's this misconception that you can get pregnant like that if you have unprotected sex. And that's just not the case. You have to time it. You have to time it to the right time where you are ovulating and things are just meant to be. And even then, even if you got all the timing right, it's something like 33% chance that you'll actually conceive. It's a super low rate. And so it's not as easy as you might think. And I think that it's important for us to know that so that we have good expectations going into trying to conceive, so that we're not totally taken aback when it maybe doesn't happen the first month. But I think it's just important to keep in mind how hard it can be to conceive, because it isn't as easy as you think. And with that in mind, don't assume you can plan when you will have a baby. It doesn't mean that you'll immediately get pregnant as soon as you decide to start trying. And I think that's it can be a hard thing to accept, because we all want control over our lives and our timelines, but we don't have control over this. So it's very important to recognize that things can take a little bit of time. So that is it for my video today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you've conceived and you have some good tips and tricks, leave them in the comments below. And if you are trying to conceive but haven't yet, I would love to know if any of these tips are news to you. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And make sure to head over to classicallyabby.substack.com. If you're not already following me on social media, it's at classicallyabby absolutely everywhere. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!